What's up? Um, so 30th podcast. Um, Off kilter a little bit, but that's okay. Do a little bit of shifting. We will evolve as necessary. Um, so with it being the 30th one, I think I'm gonna do just sort of another little bit of dive into my own head and let some of you kind of understand how this mess of spider webs works. Um, I was raised uh, in a Christian household, going to private schools until college. Um, Dated Catholics, Protestants, Presbyterians. Been to a couple of Baptist church. Black Southern Baptist Church is probably the most fun you will ever have. Um, it was very enjoyable, um, and um, you hear different sides about different things. And I've already explained before how my high school pretty much told me that my grandmother was doing wrong by playing her organ, and that's how she did her worships for the God she loved. And I even had um, bits where I started just to kind of think about things, and oh shit, how do I even get started on this? Um, so evolutionarily speaking, we had been basically growing to this point for some time, and some people say that it was just kind of a soup and the mixture of the right things, and life was formed, and then that life tried to do something a little bit more, and all this other kind of stuff, and off we go. And the creationist side will tell you, well, if we came from monkeys, then how come they're still monkeys? Um, which in some lines of thought is not a bad way of looking at it. But what if you look at it from the angle of they're working on it and they're going to get there too, but none of us will ever see it? Um, it it's to the point to where I almost have to think, and this is probably gonna irritate some people, piss some people off, or just have people scratching their heads and raising their eyebrow. Um, I like to think that we're here for a specific purpose, but at the same time, I also think we're just kind of a cosmic accident. Like scientists said, there was a soup, and then life was formed, and then just kind of it was the right mixture of the right things at the right time for the right reasons, and then we just kind of slowly started to do this. And then you sit there and you think about things and you have your brain going, and someone like Neil deGrasse Tyson will say that you're lucky to get 100 years, and if you are upset that you don't have enough time or whatever, he goes, well, what about the millions of years this ball of dirt didn't have people on it? And that's where I think that we are just a cosmic accident, just like the perfect storm of something. Um, and there are times where I do catch myself thinking about, like just imagine the road that you drive on. 100 years ago, that wasn't here. 200 years ago, it for damn sure wasn't here. and neither was anything close to the car you drive, other than a wagon. Um, it's crazy because you have a moment while you have this life to enjoy it and to enjoy even the little things that bring a smile to your face. Um, Last year when my uncle died, um, his son-in-law, which is just a cousin-in-law or something to me or something. I don't know how any of that crap works. Um, he looked at me and he goes, "Where next?" And I'm like, "The hell are you talking about? Where next?" He goes, "You know, he's gone, but where next?" And I thought about it and I went, "Not yet, but it does put you on the on deck circle." And it's almost like you could say pretty much any day, if you're over 40 or 45, pretty much any day you could go. And that was a weak ass snap. There we go. But yeah, pretty much any day you can go. There could be something building in you that, you know, you didn't really address. If there was some type of discomfort that you had, just let it go. And then you go to sleep and you never wake up again. Like, that's it. And things like that humble me and scare me at the same time. Because I am very much the type of person I love to learn new things. Teach me something new, let me have a good time doing it, and I'm good. And then there's the other half of me that is just kind of going, can I be done, since there's very few places where I feel like I can fit in and do something well to get paid for it, kind of thing. Like, there's this whole other aspect of life that I wanted, and it's almost completely out of reach and would almost not be fair, because I did want kids and I did want a wife, and it's gotten to the point where I'm like, I think I'm too old. I don't want to be almost 70 and watching my kid graduate high school. I've seen kids that had dads like that, and they're gone before they can enjoy grandkids. And I'm not saying that my life has to be validated by kids, but I did always want kids. And life just went. And that's the aspect of me that I'm like, can I be done? Because the fact that I can't do this aspect depresses the hell out of me. And I want to say sometime during my late 40s, I'm sorry, late 30s, Jesus fucking Christ. My late 30s, I had just kind of resolved myself to going, that this is it. You know, this is where I don't go do this part anymore. And in some aspects, I'm lucky for it. In other aspects, it's a detriment for it. I'm lucky because I never found love in anybody that I was with. Because I don't think any single woman I've been with has ever loved me for who I am. And I guess part of who I am is such a complex creature, that I'll have off the wall thoughts. Had one last week when I went and did laundry. Usually up to do laundry right around sunrise. I woke up at about 7:30, 8 o'clock, and I got there about 9. And there was a couple people there, and there was a Spanish mom and had a little girl running around, literally running around. And I sent my best friend this text. I said, "So here I am sitting at the laundromat, and there's a little girl literally running around, and I'm just, I have a couple thoughts in my head, and one of them is, you know, to be that young again and to have that much life ahead of you, and to enjoy just running around a group of strangers through big ass industrial washing and drying machines and strangers and tables and chairs and push carts for laundry baskets and shit like that, and to just not have a care in the world and not have anything else entertain you other than just movement, running, laughing and screaming, and not one of those screamings where you're just going, I need you to muzzle your child or throw them in the car with tape over everything because this is obnoxious. It was one of those playful little happy screams, that turns into a little bit of a laugh and a giggle at times. And then my second thought was, if I stick my foot out, how far does she fly? And that's the dichotomy of my brain. That's where the two halves, like I told you the two halves before. Well, this is the two halves on this, and everything in my world is like two halves. Like there's a half of this and a half of that. And he just replied with some Rafflemau emojis and just said, "You're the best." Because it's just like that's just how it operates, man. I And maybe it's because chicks don't dig dudes that they are like, all right, I can't really get a read on you, and therefore I can't figure out what kind of path to walk down. I'm like, well, it's not volatile. Sometimes I'll just close up, and I gotta process it before I can come back to it. I don't usually do a whole lot of reactionary type things, but chicks don't usually want to deal with a dude that doesn't have his mind right. So, I mean, I remember being a teenager and thinking in order to have a house, you got to make over six figures. Like that's just how it has to be. And it wasn't the case, but I still don't think if I had gone and gotten my own apartment when I was younger that I would have been in there long because there wasn't enough money to go around. So, again, my two part is did I avoid kids because I never found a love with anybody? Or did kids avoid me because I couldn't end up providing for them? And both are definitely not happy thoughts, but I don't know, man. These are the types of things that I think about. Um, on one hand, I would love to have, obviously not in this one because this is barely enough room for my giant fat ass. But could I handle sleeping next to somebody? I mean, obviously, I'm going to need a bigger bed because there's just, like I said, there's not enough room for just me. So, and then you need a house that has a bedroom that'll fit the bed. And it's just a spiraling thing of these are all these things that have to happen. But I also know that the vast majority of the time, I'd say with very little in between, like 5% of the time, if I am hopeful towards something or I look forward to something, it still goes off. The other is like 95% of the time, it doesn't happen, or something happens, or someone cancels, or something breaks. Like, just something happens to where whatever I was hopeful for doesn't happen. And so then I got to the point where I just stopped hoping. And when I stopped hoping, that's when I also kind of gave up on finding someone, because I was like, I'm hoping there's somebody out there that will actually deal with me. And it just seems like literally every woman that is interested in me for only one aspect of me and not the rest. And I don't mean the rest is she's got to be like 100%, because there's always going to be a portion of you that your spouse or the person you're with cannot stand. But where does that fit on their hierarchy? At what point do they go, you do this and I can't stand it, so I'm out? And the laundry list of reasons that I've had women just be like, I'm good, um, has been so broad stroked over little things that I just kind of go, all right, so no one cares. Got it. And I live my life that way. And so you have a point where someone like me, who has always wanted to have someone be with them and um, care about them, enjoy spending time with them, enjoy spending time away from them, and then you have stories to share and shit like that. I just, and I'm not trying to bring anybody down, but again, this is just my brain in word vomit form, because I don't see anyone actually giving a shit to stick around and be with me often. I don't see it happening. Um, and I'm not one for supermodel types. I don't care. Uh, the girl I was engaged to at the time was bigger than me, and we have since swapped bodies, even though I didn't get the titties. But we swapped bodies. So I was younger and thinner. She was heavier, but not like, oh God, you fat as fuck. But she was heavier. I didn't care, because I thought she was there for me. And then I realized, no, I was just, you'll do. You're the best option I have right now, so you'll do. And that became very apparent towards the end of our relationship. And once I ended it, she was just waiting to just rip me apart. And she got to. And then 3 months later, she was apologizing and wanted to know if we could work on getting back together again. And I was like, no. It's better for you that this ends. And in that moment, and ever since then, I kept telling myself I did it for her, which I did. But I also failed to really take sort of a moment for myself and go, no, it was for me too. Because I did not feel the same love for her as I did for her entire family. Like, that was a family I wanted to be involved with. You know, here's a bunch of cousins and shit like that we all had, you know, good rapports with, and all this other kind of crap, and someone ended up being extremely damn hot. And I'm just going, I wanted to be a part of that. And I was just okay with her being the key to do it. But I wasn't there for her, just like she wasn't there for me, because she didn't love me. She loved what I was going to represent, and that was her vision of how she wanted her life to go, that I was going to fit in and help with. But once the engagement happened, that's when I knew, like, there's no way I could marry this chick. There's no way. It's not gonna happen. Um, because I knew that it was pretty much, I am being a figurehead, or just the placeholder that you'd be okay with, and I had to pretend to be okay with it. I was like, you didn't love me. You loved what I represented, and that was your dream coming true of being able to be married and have your first kid before you're 30. And I'm like, we are 23. That is 7 years off. How about you relax a little? And I don't know, man. You know, that was the closest I ever came. My last relationship, I had the thought for it. I didn't do much beyond that of getting a ring, but I had a thought for getting a ring. And then shortly after that thought happened, everything just bottomed out, and that was the end of it. But that's when I learned that she didn't give a damn about me, just how I helped make her parents miserable, because her parents were freaking out. There was a 5 year age gap between us. I'm going, she was 19 when I met her. I was 24. How about y'all relax? It's not like I was 34. That was her sister, 18, and messing with a dude in his early 30s. Anyway, the more that her parents hated me, the more she was just head over heels. And then those two passed. And because I was no longer a tool to help her parents be mad, and her parents were like, this guy actually cares about our daughter because he's still here, still shows up to functions, still talks to us, all this other kind of shit. She was going, ugh, you're not helping make my parents mad anymore? Ugh. Okay, I gotta make my parents mad. Like that's what I was. I was a revenge tool. And I go through all of my relationships, and that's when I realized that there's no there wasn't a single one of them that ever gave a shit about me as a person. Just one certain aspect that they shined a light on, and that was it. That was it. I mean, I've heard excuses of, you don't read enough books. You didn't drive to come see me, even though you don't have a license nor a car, and your mom will refuse to teach you how to drive because you're not on the insurance. I'm going, you know, you have all these things that go into your head, and you start telling yourself, well, if every single one of them has had some aspect that they did not like about me, then how in the hell am I supposed to actually pretend that someone out there will be the opposite, to where they like everything except this one little thing? And if that one little thing is the toilet paper doesn't go over, it's supposed to go under. No, you are wrong. Toilet paper goes over. Or how they grab the toothpaste. Like how much of a mess the ketchup bottle is whenever you're trying to get ketchup. Where you put your shoes when you get into the house. Do you go shoeless in a house? I mean, I don't know. I don't know, man. But I know that I want someone to like me, for better or worse, and not how I make them feel, or not what I do for them, but just by being me. And for a little while, the last girl that was interested, She it seemed like she was interested in me physically, and that was it. And I went, one, I don't like how I look physically, so that already makes me uncomfortable because I don't like how I look and you like how I look, but I don't want to look like this. So if I change, does that mean you go away? So it was one aspect that she had interest, and once I was just kind of going, no, I don't roll that way. It was done, and I think that's why for the longest time I just stayed out of the dating pool because there's no one out there that's gonna give a shit to be with me. Um, I am the black sheep of my group. I've never been married. I have no kids. I don't have my own house. I don't have a career. Um, I'm one of those to where I love aspects of life, and I'm also done with it. And I understand that comparison is the theft of joy, but it's hard to think that you're even on the same parallel as your friends when you don't share anything other than interests, because I can't even share status of life. And that being said, it's not that I don't like my friends. It's not that I don't like spending time with them. It's not that I don't like our interests. But I always do feel like I don't measure up. And I will always feel that way until I start to have other things in place that makes me feel like I'm actually worth spending time with. Um, because I do spend all but 1% of my existence alone. And in some ways, I'm perfectly okay with that. In other ways, not so much. But I think since it's been so long that I'm going, I don't know how to date anymore. I have no idea. I don't, I just don't. The things that I used to go do when I was dating, let's go drive around the city. Let's go to Forest Park. Let's go get something to eat. Let's go hang out at Art Hill. Shit like that. It's gone. I'm just kind of going, I'm all right. But then there's the other half of I'm not. I'm not all right at all. But I'm in no position to be good for someone. So I just stay away from it because I don't have, I'd say, the mental and emotional capacity right now to handle doing some shit like that. And I think of all these things every single day. And I try to do everything I can to have a sense of belonging. But then there are times where I will feel like a stranger in a room full of familiar faces. Like it's always these two roads. And that's why I think there isn't a woman on this planet that'll put up with it. Because I will jump between those two roads 90 times a day. And just like I have in this video, and trying to quantify what goes on in my head through these two roads. And it's just something that it's always happened. And I just honestly think that there's too many people that don't give a damn to learn about both of those roads. And there's even less that not only want to learn about both of those roads, but that will walk side by side with me on both of them. And that's why I think I'm destined to be the male version of a spinster. Um, what is it? China has a word for, I think it's a man over 30 or 40 who's never been married, and you're called a leftover man. That's me.